All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS slate. Going to be breaking down the two-game slate here on Thursday. We have the New England Patriots versus the Carolina Panthers, and then the New York Giants versus the Detroit Lions. Let's go ahead and get into it. So yes, it is a small two-game slate, but it is going to be a slate in which we are filling out full lineups, which I appreciate much more than showdown slates. Because we are getting rewarded more for basically knowing more, that creates a bigger edge. So I get a lot more excited about these slates. It's going to be one in which I'm using the NFL lineup optimizer to go ahead and attack this slate. And especially because it does seem like we are gaining some pretty big edges. Let's go ahead and start with this first game, the Panthers versus the Patriots. And just right away, when we look at the game preview here, we are going to notice that it is going to be a lower scoring game, 33.5 points. Now, yes, this is higher scoring than the Hall of Fame game. The Hall of Fame game actually featured a lot of points. The books were completely wrong about that. But this one is projected to be lower scoring. Now, why is that? Well, we did get news that Bryce Young is going to be out first and foremost. In this game, he's not going to play, probably won't play throughout the whole preseason, but we also got news that Andy Dalton is going to sit as well. So that means we are going to have undrafted rookie free agent quarterback Jack Plummer starting and probably playing a full half. Then they also brought in Jake Luton, who is not on this slate. And so we go ahead and just get into the news and notes here for the Carolina Panthers. Yes, they are going to be injured at the quarterback position. They did sign Jake Luton on Monday, so it does seem to be that we're probably going to get a lot of Plummer in the first half. He could maybe extend into the second half a little bit, maybe gets a drive or two in that second half. And that's going to be Jake Luton, who was with the Carolina Panthers for stints last year. Now, it is a different coaching staff, but, still kind of familiar with the players. And again, I don't think we should draw too many conclusions to what they did last year. They did throw the football a lot. Again, different coaching staff, probably don't need to focus in on that too much. In terms of where we could gain an edge, it's going to be at the quarterback spot for the Panthers, but also the tight end spot. And I think this is super fascinating. So tight end wise, they're going to be without Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble. They're most likely going to be injured. And I shouldn't say they're going to be for sure without them. We learned that during the live stream, and I probably will be doing a live stream again on Thursday. We got news that Cam Akers was going to be active, and then Dameon Pierce was going to be out. And so that stuff does change. Obviously, we're just using the information that we have to make the best decisions possible at this time. I'll adjust that news accordingly on a live stream for you guys on Thursday, if needed. But again, what's super interesting about this tight end slate, or the Carolina slate, I guess, in general, is that some of the players that we would probably want to be on for the Carolina Panthers, we can't play them. So what I mean by that is Jasper Horsted is a player that they signed on Monday. Pretty good tight end. He's been a pretty good preseason NFL DFS tight end. And same thing with Jacob Hollister. If you guys have been someone that's been playing NFL preseason DFS, those are two players that you probably have ended up on a decent amount, especially Jacob Hollister, who was kind of a preseason tight end stud. He's no Tanner Hudson, but he's been pretty good. So that does leave us with a condensed tight end slate. And for what it's worth, guys, we have Jake Matthews, the former receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles in here, Jordan Matthews, former receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, and then Felipe Franks, the former quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. We knew never to play him because Franks was terrible. He's been trying to keep his NFL career alive. It's super interesting to see how those two are going to be used and utilized. That being said, the rookie tight end, Sanders, is going to be someone that we're going to be targeting a lot. The worry that I have is that the public is also going to be targeting him a lot. You could do a direct pivot and go to probably Jordan Matthews. I think I would want to do that. But for the Carolina Panthers, we do know that we probably want to be on Plummer. He's going to play a full half. That is something that we really can't ignore. Running back wise, it does get more difficult with this running back room. The biggest question I have is, who do they consider to be like their starters right now? Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, does it make sense for them to get playing time? Are we actually going to see Blackshear get a lot of work? Mike Boone's a veteran running back at this point. That is something that on the Thursday live stream, I hope to have more information on, because right now it does seem to be like a guessing game. Receiver-wise, a little bit easier, I would say, to predict. Jonathan Mingo has been getting a lot of hype out of camp. He's having a good camp as well. He is someone that probably should play about a quarter in this game. I would assume we're not expected to see Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen. We're not expected to see those guys. Leggett is also banged up, so we're not expecting to see him. You also have Terrence Marshall, who, a decent quality NFL receiver. Maybe not a star in this league, but if he is someone that gets a lot of playing time, he is someone that could step up. Irv Smith Marsetti is someone that has always kind of popped, looked good last year at points as well. He is someone that if he gets on the field, I want some pieces of him. Mike is someone that's a good player as well. Again, someone that I really don't mind. could be someone I would get to, and I probably will get to in some capacity. But the player that has been getting a lot of hype out of camp has been Jalen Coker. I'm assuming that's how you say his name. I want to show you guys a couple of clips. All right, so here's a clip just from one of the practices here. I really like the hands that he displays here. Good, nice, quick footwork there as well. He's able to create separation with his hands and his body to be able to make the catch there. So I want to show you another play as well. All right, so here's a fun play from earlier on during the training camp. You can see him in the corner of the end zone here, follow the mouse, and he keeps working his way back. Was basically always open, but that's a pretty nice contested catch. And then here's definitely another interesting click. You would argue that he probably gets off of his route a little bit too much there, but it's going to be inside release regardless. He definitely is in coverage there, so I don't exactly love the clip, but this is a good sign that he's just a smart football player, knows where to go to get the football in his hand. Again, don't really like the fact that he went that far inside to run his routes. You got to win at the line a little bit better than that, but I think it's a good point that still stands that he has shown the ability to get open. And the reason I bring a play up like that is he is someone that if he gets the full fourth quarter taken away from him, he's not going to score any points. Tease about the Hall of Fame game again, but he is someone that probably will play in the fourth quarter, and I do think he's going to be productive in that fourth quarter. Relying on that can be a little bit risky, but we do have a decent amount of players that I do like here for the Panthers. And the thing here is that we clearly are going to want to stack the Panthers a little bit. Let's go ahead and jump now into the New England Patriots. So I mentioned we have a lot of news on the Carolina Panthers. That's not going to be the case for the rest of these teams. Again, hopefully we do, as lineup lock gets closer. But what reports have suggested for the Patriots is that we probably are going to see more of a run-heavy scheme. I know it's a different coaching staff, but the philosophy doesn't seem to have changed all too much. They have been a team that we have known to target a bunch in the preseason for running backs because they are typically a run-heavy team. Again, how much can we equate to that for this preseason with the new coaching staff? Tough to say for sure. Again, the philosophy does seem to be there. They are going to be tough as well quarterback-wise. We're probably not going to play in their quarterbacks because they probably are going to play 3 quarterbacks. Now, the question is, will that happen, or is it just going to be Joel Milton and also Drake May? Those 2 players are 2 players that the Patriots have been vocal about needing to get reps. I could see those 2 potentially taking 2 halves, but the fact that they have 4 quarterbacks on their roster, there is a little bit of a quarterback competition for that QB1 spot. That does worry me. I mean, they still have Bailey Zappi there. That's been apparently terrible, so we're probably not too worried about him. But we are probably going to get a decent amount of Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. The issue that we have with them at the receiver position is that it is so spread out. They have so many receivers that are all kind of really fighting for the receiver 1 spot, the receiver 2 spot, the receiver 3 spot, because, they really don't have an identity just yet. I do think Demario Douglas is the receiver number 1, but I'm expecting him to sit because he is a little bit banged up. You do have Tyquan Thornton, who did return to practice, did look good as well. And I think it's worth calling out that they are only carrying 5 running backs as it sits right now. So one of the running backs could have a massive workload, assuming Stevenson doesn't play or doesn't get that much work. And for what's worth, we look at the injury report. We do know that Kendrick Bourne is still out. Again, Demario Douglas a little bit banged up. Not really expecting those guys to play, but you never know for sure. We look at the depth chart. We do have a lot of unofficial depth charts out there right now, just as an FYI. Tough to take too much away from it, but again, they go 4 quarterbacks deep. What's that going to mean for playing time? At the receiver, they have so many. Again, Kayshon Boutte, I believe that's how you say his last name, who people loved last preseason. That kind of shows you how bad the receiver room has been for the Patriots, that people were hyping him up. He never looked good. Kendrick Bourne obviously injured. Baker is someone that has reportedly looked good in camp. Thornton, only 1 practice, but a lot of people were really liking the way he was playing. Demario Douglas, again, probably saying you got KJ Osborne. If KJ Osborne plays in this game and plays a full quarter, it's going to be tough to imagine him not taking advantage of the Carolina Panthers' backup DBs. And then you saw Juju there. Juju's kind of fighting for his NFL life. Obviously, was terrible last year. He seems to be kind of done career-wise. Then again, you got Stevenson. How much is he going to play? You got Gibson, who it'll be interesting to see if he's actually a lot better than JaMychal Hasty or just a little bit better. Hasty is someone that can catch the ball in the backfield. You got Kevin Harris, who I kind of expect a heavy workload for him because per reports, their RB number 5 hasn't looked that good. And again, just based off of what we have seen in the past for the New England Patriots is they typically have been trying to run those guys into the ground a little bit more. And apologies there. Sorry. The depth chart needs to be updated. Fenwick was released because Jennings was active. And Jennings, I kind of did like the film a little bit on him. So apologies for that part. But Jennings is someone that, again, I kind of see it being more Kevin Harris. I do think we'll get some sort of clarity on Thursday, again, hopefully during the live stream. Receiver-wise, again, pretty much a guessing game here in terms of which receivers we want to be on, but I don't mind the idea of being on Jalen Polk or Javon Baker. It kind of makes sense for Baker, the 4th round pick. Was he 4th round pick, 5th round pick, to get a decent amount of playing time in this game? Maybe that doesn't mean that Polk gets a lot of work. There is a little bit of concern there about him maybe being limited, but we got to remember, like last preseason, and I think this will be the theme going forward, is that give your young guys some looks in some game action, specifically week 1 in the preseason, because maybe if they do get banged up, well, then you can rest them for the rest of the preseason. But 2, you want to get them a look, and then you can kind of shut them down from preseason games from that point on. QB-wise, again, passing up on that. Tight end-wise, I don't know if I really want to go in on any tight end for them as well. We already have a pretty good situation for the Panthers, and we'll have another decent situation for the next game. And let's go ahead and jump into that next game. So the next game, we got the Detroit Lions versus the New York Giants. And so jumping into the Giants versus the Lions here. So looking at the game total for this game, it is still kind of a lower scoring game, especially relatively speaking. 34.5. One site DraftKings has it at 35. Still not that high scoring of a game. Injury report wise, they are a little bit banged up, if you will, but nothing too crazy in terms of like gaining an edge in terms of playing time. And we take a peek at the Giants depth chart. I think this is going to be very telling, is that they are only carrying 3 quarterbacks. That can actually be huge in terms of playing time. They have had joint practices as well with the Detroit Lions. And so typically speaking, the starters will get their reps in for the week then during that practice session. And so starters won't play. That's my long way of saying I don't think Daniel Jones will play in this game. So we're probably going to be looking at someone like Drew Lock and probably Tommy DeVito to play a decent amount. Now, what we'll notice when we look at the Giants depth chart, especially receiver wise, is that they just have a ton of bodies. And that is a little bit of a concern to me because it's going to be more difficult to predict. Now, let's talk about my kind of news and notes part of this. And when we look at it, really, the only big piece of news that I have is someone like Dante Miller, who's a smaller running back, has been making plays in camp. I mean, here's a play that Giants media is naturally going to try to hype up, but it still shows you kind of some athletic ability. And then here's kind of another deep ball that he just kind of goes out and makes a good catch. Obviously, he has a step on the linebacker there, but, a good catch there. And then kind of just one of the better plays in terms of showing his speed. Now, typically speaking, in the NFL, you're not going to get to the outside like that. You're not going to be able to bounce it outside like that, but that speed was tremendous there. I think we can clearly see that there from him. So I do think that is a player that we potentially want to be looking at. If Singletary were to sit in this game, that leaves 2 rookie running backs, Tyrone Tracy and Dante Miller, to get some looks. And I am looking for Tyrone Tracy as well. I think he's someone that we could look at. One thing that I caught with kind of looking through a lot of the news and notes is that the Giants have put an emphasis on throwing the ball downfield. And so that should create some potential pop plays for us, some big plays. If someone, and I put Jalen Hyatt in there just as an example, if someone like Jalen Hyatt can catch one deep ball for 40 yards, that's 5 points. That is massive for us in preseason NFL DFS. So something we should probably be paying attention to. Now, strangely enough, these two teams met last year in the opening week of preseason, and we saw Tommy DeVito throw the football a bunch, 24 times in that game. It's kind of the same feeling that we got. Drew Lock's a little bit younger, so the Giants might try to get a look at Drew Lock a little bit as well. Not too many rushes in that game, only 22 in that game. And so the production in the passing game then was a little bit spread out as well. And then I think it's noteworthy, we look at their number 1 game, or their first preseason game 2 years ago. Tyrod Taylor threw the football a bunch in that game. And then Davis Webb as well. They did run out 3 quarterbacks in that game. A little bit more of a run game in that game, 11 more rush attempts in that game, and they were able to spread out the production a little bit more in that game. Colin Johnson, our guy from the Hall of Fame game, had a good game there. Then we look at preseason game number 2 last year. Did spread out the production there just across the board. Not a lot of pass attempts, not a lot of rushes. And then in game 3 last year, we did see Tommy DeVito throw the football a bunch in that game. Kind of a healthy dosage in the run game from James Robinson. And then David Stills got a lot of work in the passing game. So really what I'm trying to get at there is, all right, so if Daniel Jones were to sit, are we going to get a healthy dosage of one or the other of Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito? And will we know that? I think that we will. So if Daniel Jones does sit, there is a chance that we might get a lot of Drew Lock, especially in game 1. At the same time, either way, we want to get our exposure to them. So maybe instead of getting on someone like Jack Plummer, who does seem to be like a lock and load play that we want to be on a decent amount, we still probably want to get exposures to someone like Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito. And I will say, Drew Lock is someone that has started in this league. At times, I don't want to say he's looked good, but he should be able to take advantage of backups in the league. Running back wise, it's kind of simple. I'm going to have some of Dante Miller. I'm going to have some of Tyrone Tracy. Probably not going to go too crazy with that. Eric Gray is reportedly battling Tyrone Tracy for the RB2 spot. If they are truly in a battle for that, are they going to play a lot? That's a little bit of a concern to me. Receiver wise does seem to be pretty spread out. I will say kind of deep in terms of NFL quality players. And the reason for that is they're trying to look at who they can use in special teams. We see that with Isaiah McKenzie here. He could make the team special team wise, but if he's going to be playing in this game, that's huge. Gunner as well. Those are two players that can get open early, especially against backups. Again, how much exposure do we want to players like that, though? That's the biggest question. Again, Jalen Hyde is someone I think could catch a big pass. You got Allen Robinson there. We're not expecting much out of him, so probably not going too crazy there. And then tight end wise, could play some players here. Now, this is a late blurb for Lawrence Cager down below here. He's actually apparently had a decent camp, but in terms of like rookies getting a lot of playing time, I think Theo Johnson is actually a logical candidate to get a lot of playing time here for the New York Giants. It just makes sense. He'd be someone that, I don't know if we need to pivot off of the Carolina players, because again, we're probably looking at Jake Matthews and maybe Sanders, but at the same time, we know that with the Panthers, there are two players deeper that are actually good tight ends for them on that list. And so maybe we just go with Theo Johnson. Obviously, if we're going Drew Lock in this scenario, lineup wise, we'd want to go Theo Johnson. Let's go ahead and get into Detroit now. So the game notes that I have for Detroit is that, and I find this one funny. So basically Dan Campbell came out and said any player that is considered a project or kind of a work in progress, if you will, they're going to be playing a bunch. They're not going to play any of their starters, any of their contributors throughout the season. Known contributors, I should say, throughout the season, they're not going to play. So we know that Jared Goff is going to sit. And so based off of the words that he has said, it does seem like we had the potential to get a lot of Hayden Hooker in this game. He is someone that we have one clip on in preseason that he dominated with. I'll show it to you guys for fun. And so here's the one play from Hendon Hooker that we have seen a bunch on repeat if you type in his Twitter name. It's a good ball there, but the fact that that's the only highlight that we have seen thus far, a little bit concerning. Still, if he's someone that's going to be getting a lot of playing time like we have seen in the past from the Detroit Lions, that to me could be, something that ends up kind of being huge. And so what we have seen from the Lions throughout the preseason is that they have kind of committed to at least one quarterback getting a majority of the reps, whether that be Sudfeld, Teddy Bridgewater. Last year, that's pretty huge. Now, I think Adrian Martinez ended up getting injured in game one last year. But anyway, Sudfeld still threw the ball a lot. And typically speaking, we are going to see them kind of commit to one running back in that game. It was Craig Reynolds a little bit, Devin Azigbo a little bit. And then Jefferson as well got some work as well last year. We did see that their pass catchers were a little bit predictable as well. Dylan Drummond was someone that really stuck out for them last preseason. Got a bunch of work. That was something that we expected. Antone Green is someone that has gotten some hype out of camp this year and is still popping this year as well. And so those are some players that we could be looking at again this year. But the thing that I like about the Lions, and this is important, is that there is some case of like transparency with them in the sense that we know what to expect, typically speaking. And this was true last year and 2 years ago as well. And so again, just taking a peek at the depth chart, they only go too deep at quarterback. I'm expecting Jared Goff to sit. We have heard that. So Nate Sudfeld is someone that we have he's one of our preseason goats, if you will. He's someone that when he gets on the field has produced, typically speaking, because he's found himself in spots where he is playing a lot in the preseason. That could happen again. I do expect to see a lot of Hendon Hooker, though. Just based off of the quotes that we got, it makes sense for him to get a lot of work. And so the question that I have is, who are we expecting for RB2? Is it going to be Vake? And again, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but not that much hype out of camp for him. Surprisingly, he's a rookie that I feel like a lot of people in the fantasy football industry have been trying to hype up. Craig Reynolds, is he expendable? I don't know. But we do have Jefferson there, who does seem to be someone that could potentially be expendable a little bit. And what I mean by that is they don't really care if he gets injured. They want to get a look at him. You also have Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight, if you will, Jake Funk there as well. I feel like those two players are also somewhat established. To me, it makes more sense for those younger backs, Jefferson and Vaki. Again, I don't know if that's how you say it. It makes more sense for those guys to get some playing time. Receiver-wise, again, pretty deep for say, but I do think it makes sense for someone like Antone Green to still get a lot of playing time. Again, he was someone that popped last preseason. They need someone to step up. That's one of the things that they've been very vocal about, is that they need someone to step up. Tom Kennedy was someone that was really good last preseason. if you guys follow any other fantasy football channels, you probably know of Sal, that does fantasy football videos. I feel like Tom Kennedy kind of looks like him a little bit, or vice versa, if you will. But Tom Kennedy is someone that can get open. He has been someone that has been featured in the preseason before. And then Fontaine as well. He has apparently looked good thus far this preseason for them, or camp, I should say. And that kind of concerns me. It's like, all right, is he going to play a lot then, or is he not? Like, is he going to be a starter, or is he not going to be a starter? If he's not a starter, he could play in this game and kind of maybe he continues to stand out. If he maybe is considered a starter, then we worry about that. That being said, is Jameson Williams going to be someone that plays in this game? If he does, he can pop. He played in one of the games last year and did really pop in that game. Then from there, it is kind of a guessing game. So we can kind of dial it in a little bit in terms of who we want to be on. I think Kennedy's fine, and I think Green is fine, and then Fontaine as well. We can get there. Tight end wise, does feel a little bit like a guessing game. Shane Zylstra, I'm kind of fine with. James Mitchell got involved a decent amount last year as well. I don't think we want to go too crazy there. And so I will give you guys a first look build here, just knowing that it most likely is going to change throughout the week as we get more information. And again, a little bit annoying here. We are missing one of the players that we would probably potentially be on for the Detroit Lions. A little bit annoying there. New England, probably going Kevin Harris again, a little bit more of a guessing game there. Panthers as well. We need to get some sort of clarity in terms of who we want to be on running back wise. We just don't have that yet. This is probably the most difficult spot to predict as it sits right now. Hopefully we get more information as the week progresses though. Then obviously when we're doing quarterback, receiver, we do want to be stacking a little bit. So let's just kind of go through the process here. If we go with someone like Plummer, again, Jake Luton's going to be playing there as well. But if we go with him, then we probably want to get some of Smith, Marsetti, or potentially go with Mike here or Coker. Some of the players that have kind of stood out in camp. That makes sense to me. And then we could easily just go with, let's say, Sanders. Again, that makes sense stacking wise. I think we're probably not touching that quarterback situation, but I do think Jalen Polk, Javon Baker do make sense. Maybe we don't need to go Polk if he's not going to get that much work. But again, if we are trying to stack this game, we can go Hendon Hooker and potentially go Green and probably still Tom Kennedy. Like, I'd be fine with that. And so that's sort of what I'm looking at. I will say flex-wise, I am trying to chase a receiver. The likelihood for them to have a big pop play, I think, is more great than the running back position. And obviously defensively, we probably want to be chasing the Carolina-New England game, but really if you guys are doing multiple builds, a lot of builds, just spread it out. Honestly, probably go, if you want to favor this game a little bit more, we're going 30-30 for these 30% New England defense, 30% Carolina defense. That's fine. And then obviously you'd be doing 20 and 20 for Detroit and New York. I'm kind of fine with that. To me, as it sits right now, if we can get the Patriots defense going against an undrafted rookie free agent and another quarterback that hasn't exactly done well, that is something I would rather do. And so for this example build, we already have Tom Kennedy and Green in there. I'll go with Smith right now. But again, guys, very loose sample build right now. These are the players I'm going to be looking at. But as the week progresses, as Thursday comes here, going to be more dialed in. Do want to call out that I do have the 9 to 5 NFL DFS lineup builder that is going to be available for everyone on the website for the normal membership price of just $10 a month. Including that is all the fantasy golf tools that you'd want, the props tools as well. And we do have that NFL DFS lineup builder, again, available for just $10 a month. That is going to be all, though, for today's video. Appreciate you guys being here. Be on the live stream for Thursday. We'll be coming out with a props video for this game as soon as they're probably made available. If not, Wednesday is kind of the goal, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck on the slate. Again, if you guys want access to these tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com, available for just $10 a month. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.